welcome to CRDA's Resources for Resiliency series. My guest today, our first international guest, is Peter Leyer Pritzkow, CRDA's consultant and lead generator in Germany and throughout most of Europe. Peter, welcome to join us. And we want to start today by talking about what a lead generator does and what's the kind of work you do for us at CRDA and for Charleston, and anything you can add for our listeners who are wondering, geez, what is this world of lead generation we hear about but we never participate in?
Okay, with pleasure. Well, the ultimate objective of any regional development agency is to increase the wealth of the region. The wealth of the region, which is, let's say, defined by employment and by tax income. And any region in the world does it by two means. One means is to internationally or nationally develop the economic tissue which is existing in the region by developing exports into other areas, which means growth, which means more employment, which means more taxes. And the other possibility is to attract investment into the region, be it from neighbor regions, be it from international markets. The investment means, again, that new employment will develop and that new tax income will be generated. That, again, increases the wealth. Now, how do we do this? The first point is to understand what sort of target industries could find added value in the client region. So the economic environment in the region must be in a way that the target company finds a lot of advantages in their manufacturing process, for example, which they do not find on a comparative way in any other region. The second point is that we as a consultant have to try to position the region towards the potential investor company. Meaning we have to clearly define and communicate the differential advantages of the client region from a perspective of the investor company. And the third point then is to try to talk to these target companies to identify investment projects and to accompany them into the region and to manage them the way that they are finally implemented.
Interesting. So now let's bring it down to Charleston. Peter, you and I met about 10 years ago. I was working in Massachusetts at the time, and I called you one day and I said, Peter, I'm leaving Massachusetts. I'm moving down to Charleston, South Carolina. And you congratulated me. You said this was going to be a terrific move. And one of the reasons you said that was because South Carolina was well regarded by German industry. So I want to ask you now in 2020, is South Carolina and in Charleston in particular still well regarded by German companies that you interact with?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, certainly the economic environment has changed dramatically. But the first point of attraction for South Carolina is the nice weather from a European point of view, the seacoast and the golf courses, and certainly other nice advantages in the city of Charleston. This is very important. One should never underestimate the personal gusto, the personal taste of a CEO or an owner of a European company when selecting a target region. Personal well-being plays an important role. The second point certainly is that Charleston, or let's say South Carolina rather, has become with BMW an absolute competence center in the automotive industry, car manufacturing industry, and in the automotive supply industry. This has then been extended into the new Volvo plant, for example. You have Volkswagen around the corner, and you have many European automotive supplier companies who have created their subsidiaries in that region. That, I think, is the first point which attracts attention from European or German investors. The second point is the economic environment in South Carolina and in the region of Charleston, and good logistic links into a lot of neighbor key markets.
Thank you for that. So as I said before, Peter, we've known each other for a good decade. We met during the financial crisis, and then the Euro crisis followed that. We've had some interesting discussions in the last couple of years about tariffs and trade wars, but now we have this COVID crisis, and this one is different than all of those others that we had to weather. What's your sense, in the, let's say, the midterm, once the things get back to somewhat normal, whether there's a vaccine for COVID or people are willing to travel again, what's your sense of what the foreign direct investment picture will look like, particularly from our perspective from Germany or Europe into the U.S.?
Let's say from an operational point of view, in terms of developing investment into the Charleston regions, I see two impacts. One impact is what we call the decoupling or reconfiguration of the global value chain. Germany, for example, exports 80% of their gross national product into the world. They're completely depending on global value chains, including China, including Asia, and certainly in the US. This is now under reconsideration. We believe that in, let's say, 5-10 years' time, we will have 3 fairly independent value chains operating in each region. One in Europe, one in China, and one in the US. And that will certainly have an impact on the character of foreign direct investment as well. The second point is the corona crisis is causing a very, very heavy economic crisis all over the world. It's not yet seen because it's too early, but we'll see in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, we'll see real results of that crisis. This leads to the fact that a lot of companies will come into financial difficulties. This in turn leads to the fact that a lot of more performing companies from Europe will look into mergers and acquisitions to abbreviate a development process in a foreign country by acquiring a local company.
All right. Well, Peter, thank you for your insight. You're looking 5 to 10 years out. Hopefully you and I will be around to see it in those states.
So do I.
Enjoying a glass of wine in Charleston or in Dusseldorf, and we can see some of these things happen. But we appreciate you joining us on CRDA's Resources for Resiliency series. Again, you have the honor of being our first international guest, and always appreciate the chance to talk to you.
Thanks very much for the opportunity. It's been a great pleasure.